A magician, Woo Jae-hoon, performs in front of an audience. He makes his bow and walks off the stage. As he walks backstage, his assistant joins him and hands him his phone. As he speaks to his girlfriend on the phone, he mentions a dress that he sent her as a gift, and how he is looking forward to seeing her wearing it. When he gets off the phone, his assistant asks him about the dress, inquiring if it is the same one as always. Jae-hoon comments that it is a beautiful dress design, pink with just one flower on it. When they reach the green room, 3 women confront them, each wearing the same dress. As they look at the magician accusingly, despite being in a tight spot, he quips to his assistant that the dress is indeed pretty. Jae-hoon starts talking. He calls the world a stage, and himself a performer. He shares how he views his life as one performance after another. He gives excuses for his Playboy lifestyle by explaining that women like to be excited and mesmerized, and so he uses his magic to make them believe in fake love, knowing it is temporary. On the other side of town, an art teacher, Hae-won, is holding a figure art class, but most of the students are uninterested, or are more interested in the teacher. She curses at them and sighs in frustration at their ineptitude. Later, she meets a friend for coffee. The friend shares some explicit gossip about someone. This embarrasses Hae-won. Later, Jae-hoon is at the dentist's clinic. His treatment is painful, and afterwards he turns to the dentist to complain, but realizes that behind the face mask she is extremely pretty, so he pretends that he feels no pain. Later, he deliberately parks his car blocking the dentist's, to arrange for a fake chance encounter. When he arrives there to move his deliberately parked car, he pretends to lose the key, and then pulls it out from behind her ear, and she falls for it. Like the most obvious magic trick in the world, and she falls for it. Anyway, as expected, the dentist is impressed and goes on a date with him. The date quickly progresses, and they end up in the bedroom. No surprise there. The assistant is at home looking up adult-rated content online, and in one such video he spots Jae-hoon, shocked. He calls Jae-hoon to inform him. Jae-hoon rushes home and watches the clip, only to realize that one of his intimate motel encounters was filmed on a hidden camera, and is now out on the web. The assistant suggests that they should report it to the police officers, but Jae-hoon is worried about his reputation. Hae-won is also out for dinner with a friend, Jun-suk. Jun-suk proposes to her. She is pleasantly surprised. Later, she is at a club with her girlfriend, Sun-hee, and shares the proposal story with her. Sun-hee gets excited and urges her to grab onto Jun-suk after learning that he is a plastic surgeon and very well-to-do. Just then, the waiter serves them 2 drinks, saying 2 gentlemen sent them. As he leaves, 2 guys step up to their table. Hae-won is shocked to find they are her students, and the boys are even more shocked to realize it is her. Later, she takes one of the students for dinner to help him sober up. On the other hand, Jae-hoon is trying to figure out who the woman in the video is. He has a lurid dream about all the women he slept with, and then he suddenly realizes that it was the school teacher. The next day at school, Hae-won and her friend discuss a man who comes to meet the friend. Hae-won teases her and urges her friend to get back together with the man as he still misses her, but the friend scoffs at the prospect, claiming he only came back because he wants to resume their intimate relationship. As they are discussing this, Jae-hoon arrives at the school looking for Hae-won. They see each other and are lost in the past for a minute. Later, they go up to the roof to talk. Jae-hoon tries to tell her about the clip, but she remembers her earlier conversation with her friend about exes coming back for just physical relations, causing her to misunderstand and slap him. Frustrated at being misunderstood, Jae-hoon blurts out that there is an intimate video of them online. She is shocked. Jae-hoon and Hae-woo go back to a motel to watch the video, as they are worried about watching it in any other public location. Jae-hoon plays it, but after just the initial few seconds, Hae-won stops him. She is completely devastated, knowing that their video clip is all over the internet. She leaves without saying anything, clearly upset. Jae-hoon rushes after her. He calls for the elevator, the doors open, and he finds Hae-won still inside, crouched on the floor of the elevator in the fetal position, crying. He drives her home. She looks out and informs him that he has brought her to the wrong address, stepping out of the car and walking away, leaving him calling after her. Just then, another young woman passes by, and she recognizes Jae-hoon. He realizes that he drove Hae-won to one of his other girlfriend's houses. At home, Hae-won's sister calls her out for dinner, but cannot find her in her room as Hae-won is lying under the bed, trying to hide from the world. Jae-hoon, on the other hand, also feels sad about the situation, when his assistant informs him that a woman is there to meet with him. He goes out to find Hae-won waiting for him. She tells him that they should go to the cops, but he refuses outright. She gives him 2 options, either to marry her and then divorce her, or to help her find the perverts who made the video. Jae-hoon does not wish to get married, so they decide to go look for the thugs. Hae-won has a list of all the places they had intimate encounters. They start by visiting a B-grade camera seller and get a camera detecting remote from him. Then they visit the first motel on Hae-won's list. As Jae-hoon starts looking for the camera, Hae-won feels uncomfortable being alone with him in a motel room again. Jae-hoon teases her for acting like a prude. They bicker the whole time as they check out other motels. When he drops her at home that night, she reveals to him that she does not mean to stop looking for the perverts who filmed them, and so she expects him to meet her every day and help look for them. Jae-hoon reluctantly agrees. Back at home, Hae-won finds that her sister's boyfriend is visiting. She rushes to the bedroom and finds them in a compromising position. She scolds her sister. At dinner, her parents treat her sister's boyfriend like their son-in-law, much to Hae-won's annoyance. Her parents inform her that they have decided on a date for her sister's wedding. Her mother taunts her for not having a man. Irritated, Hae-won claims she has a boyfriend, and when her parents ask her to bring him home, Hae-won imagines bringing Jae-hoon home, how he would just reveal the truth to her parents, and claim to marry her to appease society about the video. The next day, as they visit another motel, one of Hae-won's students spots them and gets jealous instantly. As they check into the room, Hae-won goes to the bathroom and realizes she got her period. She sends Jae-hoon out to get her a sanitary napkin. Jae-hoon meets the student in the elevator, who stares at him menacingly and starts ribbing him about his prowess in the bedroom, out of jealousy. As Jae-hoon is unaware of his identity, he thinks he is weird and rushes out. When he returns with the napkin, Hae-won gets a call from her boyfriend Jun-suk, who proposed to her. She talks to him shyly, much to Jae-hoon's irritation. Later that night she meets Jun-suk, who is perceptive and asks her the reason for her unease. He misinterprets it as her reaction to his proposal. Hae-won reassures him that it isn't that. On the other side of the town, Jae-hoon is making out with his dentist girlfriend. They reach a motel room, but Jae-hoon is suddenly reminded of his video, and he gets paranoid and pulls her under the blanket to hide from them. The next day, Hae-won and Jae-hoon are once again off to another location in his car. Hae-won is looking in her diary, where she has the list of all their encounter locations. Jae-hoon is curious about what else she wrote about him in her diary, and teases her about it. Later when they have lunch, Jae-hoon notices her removing scallops from her scallop pasta. He comments on it, as he still remembers her doing that from the time they used to date. They end up fighting over the meal. Jae-hoon warns Hae-won to be sure of the motel they are going to next, assuring him that she remembers, as it's the lone motel there. But when they reach the next motel location, they find that several new motels have opened since they were last there, and as neither of them remembers the name of the place, they need to go to each one. By the time they get to the last one, it is late at night. Jae-hoon is frustrated and tired, and confronts Hae-won about what she plans to do once they find the motel. He suggests they forget about it and let time do its thing, and people will forget about it after a couple of years. Hae-won is not ready to let go, as she imagines if any of it is ever revealed, she would need to leave her job, and she would be made a pariah, and would never be able to marry. Jae-hoon heartlessly shirks off the responsibility of the situation and walks out of the room. The next day, he and his assistant are in a restaurant having a drink. His assistant asks him to stop feeling guilty, as women always blame men for all the consequences. Jae-hoon asks him if he believes that he is not to blame, and the assistant rips into him about being careless with women. He calls out his philandering ways and shares that he finds Hae-won pitiful for loving a man like Jae-hoon, who dumped her. Jae-hoon realizes his mistake and calls Hae-won. He finds her at a nightclub, drunk. He pulls her out of there. He carries her on his back, as she is too drunk to walk straight, and she makes a scene on the street. When he scolds her, she confesses to him that she's scared, and promptly passes out. He carries her to a DVD theater and lays her on the recliner, covering her with his jacket. He lays down beside her, and they both go to sleep. In the middle of the night, Hae-won wakes up and draws on Jae-hoon's face with her lipstick. He is unaware of it till the next morning, when they accidentally run across Hae-won's friend, Sun-hee. Sun-hee assumes that Jae-hoon is Jun-suk, and starts talking to him about needing plastic surgery herself. She goes on to claim how happy she is to finally meet him, and that they look good together. When her boyfriend joins them, she introduces him to Jae-hoon, calling him Hae-won's husband-to-be. The next day, Jae-hoon's girlfriend takes him to a motel, and he is about to pay for a room when she reveals that the owner is her father. Jae-hoon is shocked, and still holding out money, he covers it by pretending that he is giving her pocket money. When he leaves, Hae-won's two students jump him. He takes them to the police station for beating him. Hae-won rushes in, without being aware that it is Jae-hoon who is hurt. The student who saw them at the motel confesses to seeing them there, and curses Jae-hoon for visiting the motel again with another woman, accusing him of cheating. Jae-hoon defends himself by claiming that he only went to the motel to meet the girl's father, but obviously, no one believes him. Later, he drives an upset Hae-won home. A few days later, Hae-won is at an opera with Jun-suk, and as they leave after the show, she spots Jae-won's poster outside. Even as she looks at that, Jae-won and his girlfriend walk out. Annoyed, she calls out to him. Later, the four go out for coffee. Hae-won jokingly remarks about Jae-hoon's classic move of luring women with a coin trick. The dentist is taken aback. Yeah, she hadn't guessed that till then, as she realizes what a player Jae-hoon is. Jae-hoon tries to lighten the mood by mentioning a spot on Hae-won's butt, and everyone is shocked, but he plays it off lightly, saying they were childhood friends and used to bathe together in public baths when they were babies. Later, as he and his girlfriend watch his assistant direct the people hanging his huge poster outside the theater, Jae-hoon is reminded of the time he and Hae-won were dating, and how they walked past the same theater. At that time, he was a small-time magician, and so got jealous of the other magicians poster. He smiles, remembering how Hae-won sweetly made him feel better back then. Jun-suk also asks Hee-won about Jae-hoon and if they are still close friends. Before leaving, he asks her to marry him. Hee-won feels worried. She calls Jae-hoon and asks him if he told his girlfriend and what he's planning to do if she ever finds out. She becomes very maudlin, talking about how she'd feel if it was her boyfriend. Jae-hoon gets concerned about her and asks her if she is okay, and she realizes that she unconsciously shared her deepest concerns and abruptly disconnects the phone. Jae-hoon is still worried about her and calls her to reassure her that all will be okay, inviting her to his show the next day. The next day at the show, Jae-hoon performs an illusion act where he shows how he almost lost the woman he loved, but at the end of it, he reunites with her. Hee-won watches excitedly, smiling and clapping along with the audience. After his first act, Jae-hoon announces that he will be performing the next act with an audience member, and he calls for the most beautiful woman in the crowd. The spotlight falls on Hee-won, who is shocked. She joins him on the stage and gesticulates to him, asking him what he is up to, but Jae-hoon seamlessly begins the performance. He does tricks where he beheads her, stabs her, and makes her disappear. But at the end of the act, he holds her close in his arms as they descend from the ceiling together. After the show they go out for a drink, and Hee-won celebrates his success with him, both reminiscing how he always dreamt of this, and how he achieved it. Jae-hoon gives her a squeaky toy duck, and they play a game where they must make it squeak in tune. After a few rounds, when Hee-won squeezes the duck, it does not squeak, and every time Jae-hoon squeezes it, it does. Hee-won looks at him in surprise, which is when he reveals the trick. He was holding a whistle in his mouth all the time. He hands her the duck as a gift. They laugh about it. When they walk out of the restaurant, Hee-won is drunk, and she plays the duck, or rather, she pretends to jump according to the squeaky noise that Jae-hoon makes. They go their separate ways happy and smiling. As Jae-hoon is about to leave, the server from the restaurant hands him a book. It's Hee-won's diary. Jae-hoon turns to return it, but his curiosity about what she wrote about him stops him. In another part of town, Jun-suk receives a call from his friend, who shares the video clip with him. Jun-suk, shocked after watching it, gets livid. The next day Hee-won enters her class and starts teaching. But her students laugh behind her back and discuss her physical attributes. Hee-won is shocked when she realizes that everyone has seen her clip. Embarrassed and devastated, she runs out of the class in tears. The school principal calls her into the office and fires her. She walks home absolutely dejected. Jae-hoon reads her diary and laughs at her confessions, finding a picture of them inside it, and he notices the clothes they wore in the picture are the same ones they were wearing in the video. He reads the message behind it, where Hee-won mentioned that the photo was from her birthday. Jae-hoon visits the motel. He goes to the room where he recalls the day. In flashback, we see how young and very much in love they were when they visited that motel. Jae-hoon gives Hee-won a pair of shoes, which some believe to be a bad omen for relationships, so they joke about superstitions and hide the shoes in the bathroom flush tank, trying to ward off bad omens. Back in present, he checks the tank and finds the shoes still inside. He rushes back to the room and checks the camera. He finds it in the wall and pulls it out. He then goes down to check with the management, trying to find the culprit. When he reaches down, he flings a flower pot at the reception desk glass. When the manager runs out, he starts hitting him. The janitor comes and hits Jae-hoon on the head with the broom. He faints, and the hotel staff calls in an ambulance. Hee-won walks home from school with her stuff. She gets a call from Jae-hoon, but disconnects and switches off her phone. As she stands there, crying, Jun-suk drives up and confronts her. He accuses her of trying to take advantage of his trust and breaks up with her. Hee-won returns to her room. As she breaks down, she mumbles that they are just two people in love, and they didn't do anything wrong. So why is the world accusing them, instead of the perverts who filmed it? At the hospital, Jae-hoon tries to reach her, but she does not pick up. He leaves her several messages informing her that he is in the hospital, and she should call him. When he tries again and hears that her number is no longer active, he gets worried and rushes out of the hospital, his head still bandaged. While he drives toward her home, he spots a taxi carrying her pass in front of him and follows the car. When they get stuck in traffic, he leaves his car and walks up ahead of the line looking for her taxi. But just as he gets closer, the traffic moves and the taxi leaves. He runs behind it, calling out to her, but she does not hear him. Flash forward and Jae-hoon is in a classroom performing for a group of kids. He wonders about the day Hee-won left, and what he would have said if he had been able to stop her. Hee-won is also in another classroom somewhere, disinterestedly teaching an art class, still living in the shadows, afraid. They've both moved on, but not truly, as the incident changed their lives forever. One day, Jae-hoon's assistant spots Hee-won at a boutique. He goes to the boutique to inquire about the reason for her visit. The boutique owner informs him that Hee-won was there to look at wedding gowns, and she even supplied him with the wedding date. The assistant returns home and informs Jae-hoon about it. Jae-hoon, though shocked, decides to crash the wedding, hoping to meet her before she gets married, trying for the last time to win her back. But when he arrives at the church, he sees the bride and groom at the altar and is heartbroken to realize he is too late. As he walks ahead to catch a glimpse of her, he misses a woman standing behind him amongst the guests. but Hae-won sees him and comes up to meet him. She taps him on the shoulder and he turns and gasps loudly in shock, which makes everyone at the wedding turn to look at them. Unconcerned by the commotion he has just caused, Jae-hoon just takes Hae-won's hands in his own and shakes her in relief and joy. Later, they both are at the subway station, standing apart waiting for the train. Hae-won sends him a text asking him if he is laughing inside, thinking about what happened at the church. He laughs. The train stops at the platform, and they walk toward the entrance as people spill out. They stare at each other, but do not get on the train. As she moves to take a step further, Jae-hoon makes a squeaky noise with the ducky whistle, which stops Hae-won from getting on the train. They turn toward each other, and Jae-hoon takes her hand and pulls her into a hug. In the next scene, we watch as they get married, and everyone, including Hae-won's former student, celebrates with them at the wedding. When they get to the honeymoon villa, they take out high-tech equipment that detects hidden cameras and start scouting the place. Once they are sure there is no hidden camera, Hae-won goes to the bathroom and changes into a pink dress with a flower. It is then revealed that Jae-hoon gifted her that dress, and so in retrospect, we realize he was never completely over her and kept making all his girlfriends wear it. In the epilogue, his assistant tries the lost key trick on a woman, but in his case, he gets slapped as she catches onto his trick. The dentist once again takes another of her boyfriends to the motel to meet her father, but the boyfriend misunderstands and starts paying for a room as her father looks on in shock. Hae-won's student, who has been depressed since she left, falls in love with his new teacher. Even Sun-hee finds love again.